We all know the problems associated with loading aircraft in today's climate. Due to safety requirements, some of the airlines are asking that the belt loaders are no longer placed in the pit. Others are still putting the loaders in the pit and risking damage to the aircraft and possible injury to the agent. Although this solves several issues, others arise from it. The biggest being the gap left between the belt loader and the aircraft. Some aircraft, such as the BLER 145, are worse than others, but all have the potential to have bags fall, people injured, and back problems as a result. OSHA and Workman's Comp are both requiring a solution to this problem. Cirrus Services has come up with a solution to bridge the gap left between the belt loader and the aircraft, all while keeping personnel away from moving parts, ultimately safer and better for the cargo. The belt loader extension ramp, or BLER as it is known, solves a multitude of issues currently experienced with the current loading practices, including the necessity to reach out and pull in often heavy cargo that puts a huge strain on one's back. This video was created in order to introduce the BLER and to show its proper use. One concern in regards to the BLER that has been expressed by more than one person is the fear that the second roller or main roller on the BLER is going to cause issues of items being drawn in and caught between the rollers. Not true. As you can see here, the roller and the belt move in the same direction, guiding and driving items from one platform to the next. This is made possible with a pair of drive rollers under the main roller. The drive rollers are driven by the belt on the belt loader, and they in turn drive the main roller. The rollers have been spring-loaded to continuously follow any imperfections the belt loader may have. As a result, you will never have a clothes wringer effect as feared. The concept is the same as the conveyor system that gets the bags from the front counter to the agents out back to load them on the aircraft. The front plate has two hinges, one dual action that allows the BLER to be flipped up on top of the belt and still hang freely down, and the other that acts as a safety backup, so if the front plate is hanging down and is driven into another item, the plate simply folds at the middle hinge, resulting in a prevention of damage to both the BLER and whatever was struck. If you are asking yourself if this thing is safe to walk on, the answer is yes. Unless you have the front edge of the BLER so close to the edge of the aircraft floor that it could slip, the destructive testing of this unit in the worst of circumstances was tested to over 1,000 pounds in 3 separate tests. Each test the BLER failed to break in any way. The front plate that is composed of a 3/4 inch ultra-high molecular weight polyethylene simply bent until it would not take any more weight. To properly use the BLER on loading and unloading operations, simply approach the aircraft as normal. You will not need to get as close to the aircraft as you normally would, which creates a larger margin for error prevention in regards to the belt loader striking the aircraft. You may opt to raise the belt to climb up to the aircraft to open the door, or you can leave the belt down and get to the door from a standing position, unless of course the cargo door is accessible from the ground. Once the cargo pit is ready to accept the belt loader, whether you must use the belt loader to access the pit due to the height of the aircraft or simply stand beside the loader, you can flip the front plate into the aircraft. In order to properly position the front plate of the BLER, the front plate should be resting on the floor of the pit within 3 inches of the front edge of the plate. Too far out in the plate could drop out of the aircraft as it settles, and too far in can cause other issues. The front plate angle should be at less of an angle to the ground than the belt loader itself. Different aircraft will require different angles that will need to be determined at the time of loading, but in no case should the BLER be at a steeper angle than the belt loader. In the unloading process, some have opted to not use the BLER. It is simply left hanging down and the luggage is slid off the floor of the pit directly onto the belt. Using the BLER, however, is a better option for the download. It still keeps the distance from the belt loader to the aircraft greater, which will reduce the possibility of the belt loader striking the aircraft. As you can see here, instead of tossing the bags onto the belt, you simply toss them onto the BLER or push them over onto the BLER from the floor of the pit and slide them onto the belt. Again, this is a huge advantage when downloading the EMB 145. When loading the aircraft, take the extra few seconds to wait for that first bag. There are times when the larger bags, when placed on the belt in a manner that the handle goes into the aircraft first, that bag is right there in reach of the agent without posing a threat to his or her back by having to lean out to pull the bags in. In other times, wait for the following bag to push the front bag directly into the pit for you. Some have complained that having to wait for the bags to be pushed in by a second bag ends up taking too much time with a very tight schedule. Our natural impatience may be telling our minds that, but consider this: the bags are coming at the same pace as they always were. All you are really waiting for is the first bag to be pushed into you. This will take all of a matter of a few seconds extra. Nothing has been slowed down, and your back will thank you for it in time. On occasion, agents on the ground will tend to leave an agent in the pit stranded with the belt running. This can be dangerous trying to hit the emergency stop or the belt controls. With the BLER in place, you now have a spot to safely rest your hands and brace yourself in order to hit that stop and safely egress the aircraft. When finished, you simply egress the aircraft and flip the BLER out of the pit and back onto the belt. If by chance you pull away from the aircraft with the BLER still in the pit, the design of the BLER will keep any damage from occurring. The BLER was designed to help alleviate loading issues such as sore backs and pinch point areas of the belt loader, reduce the damage to cargo and the damage to the aircraft caused by the belt loader. The loads can even be sped up to a point where the agent in the pit can handle it. No more will you see bags getting caught or falling to the ground in the gap left between the loader and the aircraft. If the agent in the pit gets behind, one bag will simply push the previous bag directly into the pit. Enjoy the use of the belt loader extension ramp, and please remember to be safe.